The hook. They say the spirits of Tsushima take many forms. They can be the wind, the foxes, or the storms. But sometimes spirits fall from the future. A man in red and blue, moving with the agility of a spider, arrived not to conquer, but to retrieve a stone that controls the flow of time itself. He was stripped of his webs, stripped of his technology, leaving him with only one option to survive against the ghost. He had to pick up a blade. The prologue. The storm over the Omi monastery was unnatural. Purple lightning danced across the clouds and the rain fell upward, defying gravity. In the center of the courtyard, reality warped. A portal opened, a glitch in the air, and spat out a figure. He hit the muddy ground hard, rolling instantly to his feet. He was clad in a suit of tight red and blue fabric, alien to this era, the white lenses of his mask narrowing as he scanned the perimeter. Peter Parker pressed the triggers on his wrists. Click, click, nothing. The temporal jump had fried his web shooters. He was grounded. He looked toward the center of the shrine. There, resting on a pedestal of ancient stone, glowed the Chronos gem, the very battery he needed to power his return device. But he wasn't the only one watching the stone. From the shadows of the great Buddha statue, a warrior emerged. A man in black armor, wearing a mask that snarled like a demon. The ghost had been guarding this curse for years. Jin Sakai walked slowly into the rain-soaked courtyard. He did not rush. He had sensed the disturbance in the air for hours. The monks had fled, terrified by the purple sky, but Jin remained. He knew that whatever sought the Chronos gem was a threat to the timeline of his people. He looked at the stranger. The man was unarmed, wearing strange, colorful clothing that hugged his muscles. He moved constantly, shifting his weight, his head twitching as if listening to invisible flies. "That stone," Jin said, his voice low and dangerous, "remains here. It is a curse. It belongs to the dark." The stranger, Spider-Man, held up his hands in a placating gesture. "Look, buddy, I don't want any trouble. I just need that rock to get back to Queens. You wouldn't know where that is, but trust me, it's far." "You are a thief," Jin stated, drawing his katana. The steel hissed against the rain. "And thieves pay with their hands." Peter sighed, cracking his neck. "Why does everyone always want to fight? Can't we just talk about this over tea?" Jin lunged. He covered the distance with a piercing thrust, a move that would have skewered any Mongol warrior. But Peter didn't block. He didn't parry. He simply wasn't there. At the exact moment the tip of the katana would have pierced his chest, Peter twisted his torso with impossible flexibility. The blade passed under his armpit. Peter hopped backward, crouching on a stone lantern like a frog. "Whoa," Peter said, his voice muffled by the mask. "Sharp, very sharp." Jin's eyes narrowed. The movement was inhuman. No anticipation, just pure reaction. Jin shifted into the water stance. He unleashed a flurry of 5 rapid strikes, a flowing river of steel designed to overwhelm a shield. Peter dodged them all. He ducked, weaved, backflipped, and twisted. He moved like smoke in a gale. Swish, swish, swish. Not a single strike connected. "You possess great speed," Jin admitted, stepping back, his chest heaving slightly. "But you cannot dodge forever. You have no weapon." Peter looked around. He saw a rack of ceremonial weapons near the shrine entrance. He couldn't get close to the ghost without reach. He sprinted to the rack and grabbed a katana. It felt heavy in his hands, unbalanced compared to his usual tech, but it was steel. "Okay," Peter said, holding the sword awkwardly, like a baseball bat. "I watched a lot of samurai movies with Ned. Let's see if it pays off." Jin studied him. The stance was amateurish. The grip was wrong. This man was no swordsman. "You insult the blade," Jin growled. Jin charged again. This time he used the stone stance. Heavy, crushing blows. He brought his katana down in a vertical slash. Peter raised his sword to block. Clang! The impact was massive. Jin expected the stranger's guard to crumble. Instead, Peter held firm. His superhuman strength meant that even with bad form, his block was like hitting a concrete wall. The vibration traveled up Jin's arms. "Stronger than you look," Jin noted. "I drink a lot of milk," Peter quipped. The fight escalated. It became a clash of philosophies. the honed, disciplined mastery of the ghost versus the chaotic, precognitive reflexes of the spider. Jin used his experience. He feinted a high attack, then dropped low to sweep Peter's legs. Peter's spider sense screamed. He jumped 10 feet straight into the air, flipping over Jin's head. As he descended, he swung his sword. Jin barely rolled away. Peter's blade struck the stone pavement, carving a deep gash in the rock. Sparks flew. "You have no honor," Jin yelled, throwing a kunai knife. Peter caught the knife in midair with his free hand and tossed it aside. "Honor? I'm just trying to get home." Jin realized he was outmatched physically. He needed to use his tools. He reached into his belt and threw a smoke bomb. Poof! Thick gray smoke filled the courtyard. Jin vanished. This was his domain. He moved silently, circling the stranger, preparing for a strike from the shadows. But Peter Parker didn't need to see. He stood in the center of the smoke, closing his eyes. The world slowed down. He could feel the air displacement. He could hear the heartbeat of the samurai. He could sense the intent. Danger. Left. Peter spun to his left, swinging his katana blindly. Clang! His blade met Jin's just inches from his neck. Jin gasped, his eyes wide behind the mask. How could he see? "I have a sixth sense for trouble," Peter said. Peter pushed forward, using his superior strength to shove Jin back. He didn't want to hurt the man, but he needed to end this. Jin recovered, breathing hard. He had used every stance, every tool, smoke, kunai, stealth. Nothing worked. The stranger was faster than thought, stronger than an ox. "I cannot let you take the stone," Jin panted, blood trickling from a cut on his cheek where debris had struck him. "It is the anchor of this island." "And it's my ticket out," Peter said, lowering his sword slightly. "Look, I'm sorry about this." Jin screamed a final war cry. He channeled all his focus, his spirit, into one final move. The heavenly strike. He moved in a blur, his blade drawing a line of lightning in the rain. It was an unblockable attack, a move that killed demons. Peter's spider sense flared like a supernova. Danger. Fatal. Time seemed to stop. Peter saw the raindrops suspended in the air. He saw the gleam of the blade moving toward his throat. He didn't dodge this time. He moved into the attack. With speed that broke the sound barrier, Peter dropped his sword and clapped his hands together. Smack! He caught Jin's blade between his palms, inches from his mask. The force of the stop created a shockwave that blew the rain away from them in a perfect circle. Jin froze. He pushed with all his might, but the blade wouldn't move. It was trapped in a vice of superhuman grip. "Game over," Peter whispered. Peter twisted his hips and delivered a controlled kick to Jin's chest. It wasn't a lethal kick, but it carried the force of a speeding car. Jin was launched backward. He flew across the courtyard, smashing through the wooden doors of the temple. He hit the altar and collapsed, his sword clattering to the floor. His armor was cracked, his breath gone. He tried to rise, but his body refused. Peter stood alone in the rain. He picked up the Chronos gem from the pedestal. It pulsed with a warm blue light. He walked over to where Jin lay. The ghost was conscious but defeated. Peter knelt. He placed a hand on Jin's shoulder. "You're a hell of a fighter," Peter said softly. "Maybe the best I've ever seen, but you can't fight the future." Jin looked up at the strange red mask. He saw mercy. A Mongol would have killed him. This man was different. "Go," Jin rasped, clutching his bruised chest. "Before the curse takes you too." Peter nodded. He tapped the gemstone against the device on his belt. A swirling vortex of energy opened up behind him, pulling at the rain and the leaves. "Take care of the island, Ghost," Peter said. He stepped backward into the portal. With a flash of light and a sound like thunder, Spider-Man was gone. The rain returned to its normal rhythm. The purple sky faded to gray. Jin Sakai lay on the floor of the temple, alone. The stone was gone. The stranger was gone. He slowly pulled himself up, using a pillar for support. He looked at his hands, which were still trembling from the impact of the stranger's strength. He had failed to protect the stone. But strangely, as the storm cleared, the island felt lighter. Perhaps the stone didn't belong to the past after all. Jin walked out into the courtyard, sheathing his damaged katana. He looked at the empty pedestal. "Spirits from the future," Jin muttered, shaking his head. "I hope they stay there." The ghost has fallen to the spider. But time is a tangled web, and more warriors wait in the shadows. Who should be the next to challenge the legends? Batman? Geralt? Or perhaps a Jedi? Subscribe to the channel and comment below. Who is next?